back to the Huddle, the Review.com's weekly high school sports show. I'm Rob Toder, joined as always by sports editor Mike Brown, and it's Spring Sports Edition #1. And we're going to preview some of the teams to watch and all the spring sports this year. And Mike, let's start with girls track because we had a great season last year.
Yeah.
St. Thomas girls leading the way, and what's their prospects for a repeat this year?
I think they're very good, Rob. They have returned almost that entire team that won the state title last year, and led by Athena Welch, who's from Alliance, and she won the state title in the 1600, repeated as the state champion in 1600 last year, and also led 2 relay teams to state titles. What's amazing about that last year, Rob, they won 5 of the 14 events at the state tournament. 5 state championships won by one school out of 14 events, which is amazing. And all of that team comes back, including all the Sunland sisters, who are great distance runners and relay runners, and they're just going to have a fantastic spring, I think.
Obviously, we've had a mild winter, so the kids have been able to get out and run, and we should have a mild spring as well. And so we should see some really good times even right off the bat from some of those kids.
And I'll tell you a new phenomenon. In fact, some schools are actually making this a letter sport now. You can actually letter in winter track. That is a growing thing in the area because I know St. Tom, all those girls run winter track. And the St. Tom boys do that. I know West Branch, Marlington, Alliance, they all have some kids that participate in these winter meets because the University of Akron has winter meets. Mount Union has, there's a lot of, that is a growing phenomenon, it really is. And I think those kids really have a leg up, pardon the pun for a track pun, going into spring, the outdoor season in the spring, because they've been working out all winter.
Yeah, absolutely. Some of the other, St. Thomas boys had a good showing last year, and they should be good. Anybody else that any other teams we should look for?
I think this area is such a. We were talking before we started this. This area is such a good area for track. We always have kids that go to state and do very well at state, and I look for that to be the case again this year. Marlington has some really good athletes coming back. West Branch lost a lot. They lost some. They lost Zach Robbins, the great high jumper, who was a state runner-up 2 years in a row. But they have some key people back. The West Branch girls have great numbers. They have, I believe at last count, almost 40 girls on their track team, which is a big track team in this day and age. And I think they've got some really good kids. So. I think we're going to do I think track is probably going to be our best sport again this spring, but I wouldn't rule out some of the other sports doing very well in the postseason too.
Okay, let's move our attention to baseball and some of the. We had a preview of Alliance baseball in today's Alliance review. Make sure you pick up a copy of the review and see the review.com. For that preview, and they're sophomore laden this year, the Aviators.
Yes, they are. They are sophomore laden, but he played a lot of young guys last year, and he's got some key pieces back on that team. I think Alliance will be highly improved. They've got great tradition in baseball, and I think they're going to be one of the better teams in the NBC this spring.
Who do you like? Louisville's always very good in baseball and softball in the NBC.
Yeah, and I look for that to be the case this year. They have the great numbers. Louisville has what I consider to be Federal League depth playing in the NBC, and it makes a big difference. They just have so many kids to choose from, to their credit. And they usually do extremely well in the spring sports. That's where they rack up a lot of points for the All Sports Trophy in the NBC. And I think they've won that oh my goodness, I think it's been like 4 or 5 years in a row now. So I look for that to be the case again. Marlington's baseball team, I think, is going to be very good this year. They've got some key players back there. They lost a couple players that got scholarships from last year's team, but they've got some key players back too, and I think they'll be very good.
Okay, how about the other area schools, the immediate schools, West Branch and Sebring in baseball and softball?
West Branch is going to be very young this year. They lost, I think, most of their team from last year. They do have a couple pitchers back. I think Brant Alazos comes back at West Branch this year. Had a very good record. I believe he was 5-1 last year with a 1.7 something ERA. He will be the key pitcher for them this year in the baseball diamond, but they lost a lot of good position players. They won the NBC last year, and they lost a lot of kids from that team. So I think it's going to be kind of a rebuild for them, but when you have good pitching, you can go a long way in high school baseball.
Yeah. All right, well, make sure you check out the Alliance Review. We'll have previews of all the area teams this year, and those will also be on the review.com as well. So until next time, for Mike Brown, this is Rob Toder. We'll talk to you next week.